American Airlines is the biggest of the so-called Big Three airlines. Its fleet, at the time of making this video, consists of 552 aircraft, including American Eagle and other regional subsidiaries flying for the airline from Texas. American, like all airlines that are that size, uses both Airbus and Boeing aircraft in their fleet. However, when you take a closer look at the airplane types the airline has, you can see a clear division. All wide-body aircraft are produced by Boeing, and narrow-bodies are split between both manufacturers. So when you fly American on a long-haul flight, you are 100% certain that you are on board the Boeing jet. So why doesn't American have any Airbus wide-bodies not only in their fleet, but also on order? Wouldn't the A350 perfectly suit American's fleet? Let's take a closer look. As I mentioned at the beginning, airlines that size should have diversified fleets. Utilizing aircraft from only one manufacturer can have bad consequences, as the airline is dependent on only one company. Imagine what would have happened in 2019 when there was an airline with only 737 MAX in its fleet. It would have gone bankrupt immediately. So there must be a reason behind that decision. After all, American is a profitable airline and doesn't want to expose its shareholders to permanent losses. Or it does. Anyway, it may surprise you, but American not only had Airbus widebodies, the A330s, in their fleet, but also had A350s on order. So what happened was that the airline turned the strategy around and switched towards Boeing. The reasons are similar to Delta, about which the video is already online, so you can watch it after this one to compare the situation. Back to American. In 2013, American Airlines and US Airways announced plans to merge, creating the largest airline in the world. The decision came into force on December 9, 2013, and the holding companies of American and US Airways merged. A few years before that happened, in late 2005, US Airways firmed up an order for 20 Airbus A350 aircraft. This was logical and obvious, as US Airways had a fleet of A330s at the time. Chairman, President, and CEO of US Airways, Doug Parker, stated in an Airbus news release that the A350 perfectly fits the airline's strategy, as the technology is similar to the one they already have, and the range, economy, and comfort meet the airline's needs. But there is the other side of the coin. As the New York Times details, the America West and US Airways merger that happened in the same year as the A350 order was backed by $350 million from a variety of investors. Airbus provided the airline with a $250 million loan. In return, the airline ordered the A350, so it was not purely based on business factors. But once again, the A350 was a completely logical choice. It was planned that US Airways would become the launch customer of the A350 in 2011. However, multiple delays followed, as Airbus decided to redesign its new flagship to better compete with the 787 Dreamliner. In 2007, the number of A350s ordered by US Airways increased to 22, including 18 A350-900 and 4 800. After the merger in 2013, American Airlines converted the US Airways order to 22 of the A350-900 instead of the mix US Airways had on order. The 800 version was later canceled due to a small number of orders. In 2014, American expected all 22 A350s to be delivered by 2019, with deliveries starting in 2017. But everything changed in April 2018, when American reached an agreement with Airbus to cancel their A350 order. At almost the same moment, American placed an order for 47 Boeing 787 jets, including 22 787-8s and 25 787-9s. This sealed the fate of Airbus's wide-body aircraft in their fleet. Before we talk about the reason for this decision, it's worth mentioning that American not only had A350s on order, but also inherited 20 A330s after the merger with US Airways. They were split between 11 A330-200 and 9 300. The number of smaller A330s later increased to 15, as US Airways had 4 more of them on order. Of course, ordering 47 787s, American evaluated the A350 and A330neo for its future fleet plans, but the airline eventually decided against it. The reason for all of these decisions is simple. American didn't want to add a small subfleet designed by another aircraft manufacturer. That would have added complexity to the fleet and increased maintenance costs. As described by American Airlines' then Chief Financial Officer, American were avoiding adding complexity to the fleet and made this decision from a commonality standpoint and an operations standpoint. For similar reasons, Delta also retired its 777 fleet 2 years later. The end of Airbuses in the Americans' long-haul fleet came in 2020 when, due to global travel slowdown and forecasts of demand for flying not returning quickly, the airline retired their remaining A330 fleet. At the same time, all 767s, 77s, and Embraer 190s also left the American fleet. This decision later backfired as the airline was unable to launch new long-haul flights or even resume the ones it had operated before 2020 due to a lack of wide-body aircraft when the travel demand started to return. Due to industry-wide supply chain issues, the delivery of the new 787 was also severely delayed. But even though you may think that American Airlines favors Boeing, it is not entirely true. The first American fleet consisted of almost 50% of the aircraft made by European manufacturers. They are all A320 family narrowbody planes, including 80 A321neos. And while some of them had been inherited from US Airways, American also later ordered Airbuses themselves. Now, I will tell you one thing that might be surprising. You may see some American Airlines Airbuses operating regular flights at the European airports as soon as next year. And no, I haven't been lying until this time, and AA is not going to add any Airbus widebodies to their fleet. So how's that possible? The answer is Airbus A321XLR. The airline already has 50 of them on order and expects the delivery of the first one as soon as late 2024. This will allow American to bring back routes canceled in 2020 and also add new ones to places that don't have enough demand to sustain regular wide-body service to Europe. These may include cities in Eastern and Southern Europe, which have a big seasonality of transatlantic traffic. Now you know the reason why American doesn't have any Airbus wide-bodies, and that's not going to change soon, even though there were multiple rumors both about an A330 return and a new A350 order. The extreme popularity of this aircraft type that Delta and many other airlines in the entire world have in their fleet is not going to change it, as American has its own wide-body strategy. However, that may change in the distant future, as it might make sense for such a large airline to have a second type of wide-body plane. However, the condition is simple. The subfleet has to be large enough so the operating costs wouldn't be too high, which wasn't the case with the American A350 order and former US Airways A330 fleet. So when you take an American flight to Europe, you have a 100% chance to get on board Boeing. At least until next year, then only Asia remains for you if you are a true Boeing fan. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and please both subscribe to my channel and support it through the new options.